I'm Matt Thurber, Editor-in-Chief at AIN Publications, and today I'm interviewing Honeywell's Lisa Butters, General Manager of GoDirect Trade and Product Application Owner of all blockchain activity at Honeywell. GoDirect Trade is Honeywell's used and new aircraft parts marketplace, and it turns out that blockchain is going to be an important part of this new service. So Lisa, can you tell us about GoDirect Trade and why Honeywell launched it?
That's a very good question. Like, why of all things would Honeywell want to be involved in having a marketplace for used serviceable material? So I think for Honeywell, it starts with trying to solve a really big customer problem. And in this particular industry, it's about a $4 billion a year industry, and almost none of it is done online. And, for us at Honeywell, we really asked ourselves, why are people not checking out in this space? It's a gigantic industry and people are still using the antiquated ways of emails and phone calls. And so for us, we really believe that this industry was ripe for moving into the digital channel. And on top of that, I think that, yes, there's a really big customer problem that's yet to be solved here. But, 10 years from now, being at the forefront in this marketplace environment, and if Honeywell can sit between all of these transactions, A to Z, all aerospace transactions from A to Z, that's a really interesting spot to be in. It gives a really beneficial understanding of the industry, what people are purchasing, behaviors, trending, and I think it's a place where Honeywell really wants to be.
Lisa, there are other parts marketplaces, obviously, in the aviation industry. And what's different about GoDirect Trade?
There are approximately 20 competitors in this space, and many of them have, big communities of users. But out of all competitors out there, so all 20, I would say that none of them are really true marketplaces where e-commerce can really flourish. And the main reason why is because GoDirect Trade is the only marketplace where price, product images, and quality paperwork are required. And really, without those things, you can't have e-commerce, right? If you don't have a price, that would be like you logging into Amazon this morning and trying to buy something. There's no price, there's no pictures, there's nothing. You would never check out. And I think fundamentally, that's the reason why this industry has remained antiquated today, is because there is really no transparency. So to us, there's people in this space, but they really don't compete from a marketplace perspective because you can't check out online. We're the only marketplace where you can really check out online and really have a true e-commerce transaction.
What if you want to be a storefront? Does it cost anything to join? I mean, what's the business model for Honeywell?
Yeah, so for us, I think in any type of software solution or marketplace, the ones that really start out organically, like from the ground up, adoption is really the number one thing that is going to help you survive in this environment. It's a really cutthroat environment when you're trying to start from the ground up. And so for us, adoption is absolutely key. And that's in a marketplace. What's really interesting is that you have to build both the buyer base and the seller base at the same time. Without the sellers having the listings, you're not going to have the buyers. But without the buyers there, you're not going to have the sellers to provide the listing. So it's kind of like this chicken and an egg type thing. For us, though, in order for you to launch a storefront on GoDirect Trade, you can do it for free. We offer 6-month free trials to launch your storefront. And then from there's no obligation. If you don't love it after 6 months, but we hope you do, you can just quit your storefront. We don't even ask for a credit card or anything like that to launch. We want it to be as easy as it would be to launch on Etsy, as easy as it would be to launch on Amazon or on Bonanza, which are common B2C marketplaces. From a storefront perspective, you or I could launch a storefront literally in under 5 minutes.
So if I'm searching on GoDirect Trade for a part and I find something I want, how do I pay for it? Is it like going to be just as easy as ordering from Amazon?
Well, on GoDirect Trade, from a B2C perspective or B2B, you can check out with your credit card, which is very common, if not the way to go from a B2C perspective, like on Amazon. On Amazon, you can't pay with a PO, right? It's all about, credit cards or, instantaneous payments. But these antiquated ways of paying is still a thing in B2B, like paying with a purchase order and having terms. You can pay with a wire transfer. And we're also looking at new ways for people to buy on GoDirect Trade One of them is if you're familiar with Afterpay or things like that, if you're on livingspace.com and you want to buy a $3,000 couch, Afterpay allows you to pay the storefront directly in cash, but then you pay in like 3 equal installments. So we're looking at new payment solutions like that inside of GoDirect Trade to make buying even easier.
Are you seeing any competition between some of the storefronts that maybe the ones that have a better presentation in terms of pictures and stuff might attract more attention?
It's so true. And I think people are just not used to being in e-commerce. And so number one, even Honeywell Aerospace Trading is competing at some level with some of the storefronts on the marketplace, right? They have the same part numbers listed as other storefronts. And so I think what's becoming really obvious to these storefronts is, okay, if my pictures are dark, if my pricing is not competitive, then I'm not going to win the sale. And I think it's just a new world for them. They're used to kind of that brick and mortar mentality, the emails and phone calls, more of the relationship-based selling. And so having to compete head to head with another storefront on having better price, better pictures, right? And more, just being more responsive from an online perspective when they ask questions. Those are all very new things to them, but they're learning very quickly what's important in the e-commerce channel.
How many parts are currently in the system, and are you looking for that to grow?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So we have over 40,000 unique part numbers on GoDirect Trade, and we have over $2 billion in quality listings. And I say quality listings because those are listings that have price, they have pictures, they have paperwork. And we don't have ghost listings. I think that's another big benefit to GoDirect Trade is because we have such stringent requirements on listing product, you won't have any ghost listings because all the storefronts must have those parts on the shelf and ready to ship in order to list the product. So I think that's a huge benefit right there is the fact that we have no ghost listings. We hope to get to $4 billion in inventory by the end of next year. And so we continue to bring on more storefronts. And one interesting thing that we do is it's similar to the Amazon model when they first started, where Bezos wanted one of every book. He didn't want 50 of every book. He just wanted at least one of every book. And so what we do every single day is we look at what people are searching for and what they weren't able to find. And the parts that they weren't able to find, we are actively going out to sellers, to traders, to brokers to find people who have those parts to say, hey, can you list on GoDirect Trade? People are looking for these parts. And since we don't have it listed, it's not available. So we really try to use data every day to drive what we list on the site, which I think is interesting, right? It's instead of trying to get, a million different sellers, we're really just trying to get the parts that people want to start.
Lisa, tell us how blockchain fits in and maybe give us a basic understanding of how blockchain specifically works in this instance. And I know it has a lot to do with the provenance of the parts, right?
The way that I describe it is blockchain technology is a highly secure way to crowdsource a decentralized database. And the way that we use blockchain in our marketplace is we use it very similar to Carfax. If you're familiar with Carfax and you're trying to buy a used automobile, Carfax tries to pull in data from lots of different sources, from third-party databases, from private companies, private people, to try to give you as much information about that car as possible. Was it in an accident? Was it purchased in a cold weather state? Just things that a consumer would want to know about before they purchase a vehicle. We use blockchain technology in the same way. So we use it to try to get to multiple data sources, whether it's third-party databases, repair shops, dismantlers, OEMs, sellers who have information about the parts. And we try to collect all the information together to give more information about serialized parts. So when you're on GoDirect Trade, you can search by a part, and there's a section on the listing details called Trust Trace. And if we have a partial pet pedigree or a full part pedigree, we will try to give you as much information about that part as possible. And so you could very well on GoDirect Trade have a part number that's being sold by 2 different sellers. And you could have one seller that has more information about it. And I think that from a consumer perspective, the more transparent you are, you're trying to build trust with blockchain between the buyer and seller. And so I think the buyer will go in, and if there's a better part pedigree or more information about a part, they'll feel more comfortable purchasing that part. from that seller. And so we really use blockchain technology to build trust between the buyer and seller through transparency.
Now, are the storefronts actually using this to provide the good pedigree information?
Yeah, they do. Some sellers are better than others. But sellers have the ability, once you're a storefront on GoDirectTrade, you can log into the user interface. And if you know information about parts, like maybe where it was repaired at, like repair shops, or if it was dismantled, you can load information into the ledger so that it shows up on your listing. But there are also a lot of ways that we automatically collect that information inside of our blockchain ecosystem. So for example, inside of our marketplace, every time a seller lists a product, that gets stored as an event on the ledger and it'll show up on the listing. Every time a bill of a sale is made on GoDirectTrade, so we sell something, kind of like when you buy your house and you record the deed, every time we make a sale, we record that event on the ledger. So if that part ever comes through the cycle again and gets listed on GoDirectTrade, you know who the previous owner was because it's already on chain. We have connections into multiple repair shops. So all of Honeywell's channel partners are on GoDirectTrade in terms of the events when they repair things. So that way we know all those repair events are inside of GoDirectTrade and on chain. We have a couple of dismantlers that are automatically connected to our ledger so that when they dismantle aircraft, when those parts come off the aircraft, those events get loaded on chain as well. Our job is really, from a blockchain perspective, to continue to build out the ecosystem, get more repair shops on, more dismantlers, more tier one component manufacturers on, so we have more of the birth records.
Tell us a little bit about how GoDirectTrade got started and your involvement. It sounds like you have a background in studying this secure transactions and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I would say, my best credential is I consider myself a professional shopper. And so I think that makes me a shoo-in for the marketplace. But Honeywell, this was started, the concept, a little over 2 years ago. So GoDirectTrade has really only been in existence for about 16 months, but the whole journey started about 2 years ago with Honeywell. And they conceptually conceived this marketplace, and they started the whole initiative as a greenhouse. So inside of Honeywell, we have this concept called a greenhouse. And the idea is that in order for innovation to really flourish, especially within these large, bureaucratic companies, we had to have a way to really push innovation through in a really quick way, like a startup. So as a greenhouse, and there's not a ton of greenhouses inside of this $40 billion company. There's about 6 of us. But with a greenhouse, you are supposed to act and be treated like a Silicon Valley startup. And that's really how we run GoDirectTrade. We are an autonomous team. I would say we push the envelope every single day with the decisions that we make and kind of the things that we try to do from a development perspective or a marketing perspective, which helps us move really fast and it helps us act like a startup. Because even in this environment today with USM and trying to build a marketplace, it's not the gigantic companies that really worry us the most. It's always the small, agile startups that they can innovate really quickly and they can put something to market really quickly. And for us, while that scares me, I feel like we operate just as quickly as a Silicon Valley startup would be. If we were outside this greenhouse kind of construct inside of Honeywell, then I would be really worried about it. Because I've been with Honeywell for 15 years. I grew up in IT. I know how IT projects move and some of the bigger initiatives. And being in a greenhouse, it's a completely different world.
So Lisa, you've been in the parts business for more than a year. What's your favorite airplane part now?
My favorite, actually, it's the engines. The reason why is because they're high dollar, and getting an engine sale through GoDirectTrade is like, for us, like winning the lottery. It's awesome because it's a high dollar sale and it's an engine. We had a couple, but the last one that went through, it was like an $80,000 engine. And just the fact that someone's willing to purchase an engine on GoDirectTrade, it's a really big deal.
That's pretty cool. So Lisa, thank you very much for explaining GoDirectTrade and blockchain today. We really appreciate you joining us and look forward to learning more about this service.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, Matt. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, healthy.
Thanks for watching this AIN video. Please like, subscribe, and share it if you've enjoyed it. Also, visit ainonline.com for all the latest on the aviation industry.